So, as we all know, folks, Briahna Joy Gray was let go from the Hill. We did a full segment on this on our live show, which we will be putting out there for the channel. So, we're not going to get too into the event itself, but there is some follow-up and fallout that we do want to get into. But briefly, just so everybody is totally caught up, it finally happened. The Hill has fired me. There should be no doubt that the Rising has a clear pattern of suppressing speech, particularly when it's critical of the state of Israel. This is why they fired Katie Halper, and it was only a matter of time before they fired me. You can continue to follow me at patreon.com/badfaithpodcast. So Brianna's podcast is really her bread and butter, it seems now, especially since there's no Rising gig and it's just completely member funded. There's no ads. You know, her YouTube channel does okay, but that's not her main thing. I think they only post a couple videos a week there. So really, Patreon is her avenue. Left here is a screenshot of the email. Dear Briahna Joy, this is 30 days written notice that your consulting services agreement is being terminated pursuant to the provisions of Section 5.3 for convenience. Thank you for your contributions, and we wish you the best in future endeavors, blah, blah, blah. We all know this conversation is likely what did it, although according to Briahna in our conversation and the conversation she had with Mr. Greenwald, that was probably just the excuse they needed to do the thing they were trying to do for a while, which was to get her out the door. But here's a new development. So now she's off the Rising. Now she's back to freelancing. She has her Patreon on Bad Faith, which is very successful, as we've mentioned.
We're negotiating a Friday show.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You're the first to hear about that.
Yeah, right, exactly. As we've mentioned in the past, her Patreon is quite successful, but she just tweets out last night, hundreds of Zionists have spammed the Bad Faith account, apparently thinking it's Patreon. These aren't intelligent people, very unintelligent people, trying to get me deplatformed from the app. Again, a foreign country targeting an American journalist with the goal of making it impossible to earn an income if you criticize Israel. So these mistakenly went to the Bad Faith inbox, apparently, which is why she's reading them. But these were all people thinking that they were petitioning Patreon to cancel her. And you can tell this is a spam bot operation. We just did a story on our last stream last week about Meta cracking down on an Israeli AI bot farm. And you can tell that this is clear bot activity by the fact that all of these emails have the exact same subject line and body.
She ain't kidding about them being dumb. At this point, aren't they able to use AI to write different emails under different accounts?
Yeah, you would think.
Isn't that the story we were doing with Meta?
Yeah.
Last week?
Yeah.
Isn't that basically
you could
what
create
they were
a whole
doing?
online magazine. Yeah. You could do everything with AI. So why wouldn't you at least come up with like 20 different drafts? Because let's say they were smart enough to actually send these to Patreon, which they're not. But let's say they were. You don't think Patreon would find it weird that they're getting 300 emails all from, Berkowitz, Bernstein, with the same title and body?
Israel really seems to be on a mission to burn down the stereotype of Jewish intelligence.
Yeah, well, they burned down. Yeah,
they're only leaving the negative stereotypes intact. The positive ones are all falling by the wayside.
Exactly. The positive stereotypes of Jews, which is that we're smart and funny. Yeah, Israel has really gone a long way to dismantle those two things. Because if Patreon did read these, you don't think they would be like, oh, well, this is obviously a bot operation. We're going to take this less seriously.
Yeah, even if they addressed it to the right people.
Yeah, exactly.
However, this is a very good example of what I'm talking about. Hey, that affects Briahna. That affects us. They could come after us that way too.
Absolutely.
And
100%.
We have common interests, and we need to make common cause, and we need to protect each other from this kind of thing, because these people, they have no limits. You're dealing with ideologically obsessed people who are absolutely blind to reality, who have an absolute religious conviction, literally and figuratively, in the rightness of their cause. And they are very much like Scientologists. Max actually said, he calls them what? is he had Ziontologists.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Calls them Ziontologists. They behave very much like Scientologists, because when you look at these stories of Scientologists harassing former Scientologists and parking outside their house and intimidating them, that's a policy that L. Ron Hubbard laid out. Yes, fair game. Anyone who's in any way a threat to Scientology, you can do anything to them. There's nothing immoral. There's no limit to what you can do to them. That is very much how Zionists think. There is no limit.
Absolutely. Right. If you cross them, if you are on their shit list, there is no limit to what they will do, including, so they already got her fired from her W-2 gig or whatever, but maybe it was a contract, whatever. Her formal weekly paycheck gig.
Right.
Now they're going to get her, trying to get her deplatformed from her freelance gig. And there is a difference, and we have made this difference as obvious as we could, but there is a difference between getting someone fired and getting someone deplatformed. Getting someone fired in this case is bad enough because we strongly disagree with why they were fired. But okay, if your editorial position is so out of step with the editorial bent of the outlet to the point where they let you go, in this case, we think that's terrible. But that is an outlet exercising a control over its editorial message. That's different from deplatforming someone. It's different from saying you don't have the right to publish on this platform, i.e. Patreon. Because now you're not just talking about the editorial bent of one enterprise. You're talking about a platform, a forum that exists ostensibly for people of diverse viewpoints, and you're saying, accept that viewpoint. We want to take you down for that. That's what they're trying to do here, from firing to deplatforming.
Please clap.